And as Mike Valerio joins me now from Seoul. So what do we know about when this is going to happen?
I mean, that's a key question, right? So there are some logistics that still have to be worked out about when this plane leaves here on this side of the world, gets to America, gets everybody. And of course, if you're just joining us to the storyline, this is more than 300 South Koreans we're talking about, all being released from ICE custody is the breaking news, happening just over an hour and a half ago, and then coming back here to Incheon, Seoul Airport, which is where we assume we're just finishing up our reporting on that. So, of course, the main human thread here, Victor, is even though we have this announcement that all of these South Korean nationals who worked at this very high-tech plant are coming back home, I can tell you throughout the weekend, throughout this country, when you're on social media, when you turn on any news channels, this is the top story. When you see South Koreans astonished at their fellow citizens, chains wrapped around their waists in Georgia, handcuffed. These are people who, from the point of view of, people talking here, are trying to help the United States with this high-tech industry, with this EV plant and battery plant hailed by the governor of Georgia. So the feeling of betrayal that has emanated from opinion columns, social media feeds across South Korea, I don't think can be understated to our American audience and to people who are watching us throughout around the world. So to that end, we had a representative from LG Energy Solution, the partner in that battery side of the operation, confirmed to CNN that his company is suspending most American business trips because of the uncertainty. So if you can imagine, if you're an employee of LG Energy Solution, if you're already in America, you are being told to stay in your accommodation or come home immediately. That is where we're at. So again, when you think of LG, that's one of the major monolith, names of South Korean technology that, of course, imports their brand and their technology around the world. If we zoom out here, wrapping up, we talked about this yesterday morning, Victor. When you think of what a priority this was for the presidential administration in South Korea, just under 2 weeks ago, we had President Lee of South Korea in the Oval Office with President Trump, touting everything that South Korea could do to help rejuvenate American manufacturing, especially American shipbuilding in another bucket over on this side of the equation, to help make American industry great again. When you had this looming, it is certainly being hailed as a victory by politicos in South Korea that this is resolved. But at what cost? There's a lot of emotional scar tissue here that, again, I don't think can be understated, Victor.
And it'll be interesting to see how that corporate response from LG and the constituent response, that sense of betrayal that you described from the constituents, how that influences the political response and the exchange between the South Korean president and, of course, President Trump and the U.S. Let's talk now about President Trump's visit to South Korea soon. What do you know about that?
So this is the APEC summit. It's going to happen October 31st and November 1st. If you're not too familiar with what APEC is, it is a giant economic summit of the biggest regional players in Asia and the Pacific Rim. So President Lee, again, who we saw in the Oval Office having a very good meeting with the U.S. president, is expected to host not only President Trump, talking about how to improve economic relations between South Korea, U.S., and all these other Pacific nations. He's also expecting to have Xi Jinping coming over from Beijing to the southern tip of South Korea also at this meeting. So when we were thinking about, how is this going to play out? More than 300 South Korean citizens detained by ICE, while President Trump is expected to come to this meeting here in South Korea, perhaps meet the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Certainly it was a priority to resolve this issue when you had such a big meeting, perhaps a crescendo with the U.S. and China trade talks ongoing, to get this situation handled and to get a plane over to America as soon as possible to bring these South Koreans home, Victor.
A lot of moving parts. Mike Valerio helping us understand all that's at play here. Thanks so much.